Dave, we're going to get going in a bit. Yep. That will be good there. Just want to let you know. We'll wait for a few other people, but we're just going to start. We're going to get going in a bit.
Okay.
That will be good there. Just want to let you know. We'll wait for a few other people, but
Sure.
we're going to get going in a bit.
Okay.
Are you hearing a double?
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
So maybe I'll just take this off, right? Are you hearing it? All right, now, hi, Dave. You
We're
don't
good,
mind
we're
being on
good.
trial.
No,
Can
we're
you hear
good.
me in real time?
Yeah, and it's not double.
Perfect.
Okay, I don't know if that like unmute. I don't know if it mutes well, I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, you have the audio.
Yeah. I can't hear you now, Dave. I might just try and mute it. So I was trying to do it so that when people do enter, if people enter, I don't want has been removed. Go figure. This always happens like right before. I hate leaning over. My back hurts. Let me get this. We'll get this going. 1 minute. Do you know how to do this? Do you know how to do this?
I mean, I could hit record. I don't know.
Do you know how to check if your stuff is all set up? No?
I haven't used mine in a long time.
Okay. So that's all set. It just came out for a little bit. So we should be good in a bit. I want to see how to mute people on entry. Mute all more. Okay, maybe that's here. Okay. Oh. Enable waiting room. Mute all upon entry. Ask all to unmute.
Or just mute all.
Mute all, but I think it might mute. Oh, that doesn't mute. Okay. If you have comments or questions, drop it in the chat section. Dave's fabulous. Yeah, it's back for more. Hopefully you take some good stuff. Okay, that should work there. And that just, Dave, do you mind just checking to see if that unmutes you? It won't unmute you unless you ask.
Okay. How's that?
Oh, you unmuted. So I don't know how it does that.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's all good. You're cool. I just don't want people coming in and unmuting. So I swear
Yeah.
to do it so that everyone just stays muted.
Right.
But like,
Yeah.
I mean, on your end, you can see it, right?
Yeah, that's what I should probably, I guess if I, how do I do like, oh, is it because I'm sharing? Stop sharing. Oh, there it is. So unable that.
Okay. Let me mute this. Give me a second. Okay, tell her. One more minute all, and we will get rolling. All right.
Cool, yeah.
So I think,
You are. I see us.
can you see?
Yes.
I'm like leaning. Uh-oh, see?
Oh.
We're just getting a few things. This like stuff drives me crazy. Can you? Can you? I
I'll
can't
bring
see.
the-
I'm like, I can't see.
Bring that closer.
I can't. I have to turn this a little bit. I wish I was technically savvy. You'd think we've been doing these. I think that's pretty good. I think we're pretty good. I think we're good. All right.
Okay.
Right? Right? I'm looking there. I'm looking there. We're good.
Yes.
I think we're good. You guys good? Drop a comment in the chat.
Comment
The
section.
comment box. Use the comment box.
Wonder where I find that.
It's good seeing you all. Okay, so really quick, because sometimes we don't always tell our story. And so we want to get going with this. But some of you know us and some may know us, but may not know our full stories. And so thought it would be important to, let me just make sure that's off because that'll keep dinging. But then the last time I shut it off and it didn't. Okay. There's always going to be something. I just heard a ding. My texts are hooked up to my computer. So I was like, great. And get ding, 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 ding. So back on track there. Some of you know us, some don't know us so much. And some of you that do may not know our full stories. And so I think it's really important that maybe we share a bit about ourselves so you understand where we're coming from and maybe our journeys and what led us to doing what we're doing with you all tonight. So as you don't know, I'm Patrice, singer-songwriter. I've been doing this forever. But really my journey is a bit cliche in the sense of like I started as a kid. I just wanted to always perform. My family laughs at me. I'd perform on our fireplace there. And so that kind of morphed into with the performance stuff, musical theater. Basically, my life was immersed with musical theater, middle school and high school. And then that moved into college. So I was doing a lot there. And I actually I won't go too far off on a tangent with other things, but as a point of inspiration, I didn't really land anything all through high school. And it was a pivotal moment. And I think life gives you what you need at certain moments. And so I just was like, I don't even know if I can do this. Like, what am I going to do? And I ended up, a new director came into our program and I auditioned and she loved the performance. And so they gave me a lead role, and they're actually really pivotal and pushing me to actually go to school for music. And so that's really what led to me pursuing it in college. Is I always knew too, then I loved it. And my mom, it's kind of funny, was like years later was like, I never said anything, and God bless her. She's like, I never said anything, but like, you never get anything, but you just kept going. And I think it's a testament to what I kind of coach with my artists, is that this is a journey, and some people hit it right away, and others, it's just, you're going to keep on your path.
Right.
But I do believe that if you stay the course, you're going to eventually go to the right thing.
Yeah.
And so I just laughed and I was like, well, I just really loved it. And I didn't really do sports and other things. And so I just kept going. So then in college, I started at a college that did music, and what I didn't realize is the different styles, right? I just kind of, even in high school, I took lessons and it was more classical, musical theater based, but definitely more classical. And so I didn't realize there was a variety of different styles you could. Needless to say, I was the one trying to do contemporary in my classical lessons, and they didn't go over so well. So like, I just want to do Celine Dion. You can't do Celine Dion. Like, you do Green Leaves. And I was like, I don't want to do Green Leaves. So I ended up by transferring out of there. And I went to UMass Amherst, and I finished actually with a theater degree. So after that, I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm going to find the best theater, community theater in the area. And I'm going to start training there. I'm going to audition there, and I'm going to grow myself in that community. And so probably about a year into it, I really started to take classes and work with a coach there. They closed. So that was like, no moment. And I was like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? My plan is yet again been shattered. And so, again, life leads you where you need to. And I was like, you know what? I always have this itch for like contemporary. I always like want to sing contemporary, but like everything that I've kind of known that's been available for me training wise is all musical theater, classical. So it's like, let me seek out a place that might be able to aid me and teach me more in the contemporary. So that's actually where me and Whitney ultimately connected. But I found a studio out in Boston, and I started to learn. They worked on contemporary styles of singing, and they worked on artist development. How do you actually pursue this? So I was working with them for some time, and it was a great program. I'll get to why I kind of decided to branch off, but I started to really learn, and I've always kind of been, and I think this is one of the most important things, a go-getter. And if you give me what to do, I'll do it. And so I was working hard at it, and they approached me and they said, Patrice, you're doing so well in this program. We want you to be a coach here. And I was like, what? Put the brakes on. I was like, I'm an artist, right? So I had to kind of, right? I was like, I'm an artist. I don't know if I really want to give up this time to go coaching. Now, I also really love people, and I like helping people. So I had a really serious conversation with family, and I was like, what am I going to, like, I guess I'll try it, you know, and it was really nerve-wracking, but that was over 10 years ago that I started that journey. And the really cool thing about that journey is I've taken so much from being a coach, but also it's helped me better my own program and our program and the things that we're doing, because after that many years in the industry, you just start to notice what does work and doesn't work, not only from your own journey,
right,
but like literally hundreds of artists. And it's like, well, what technical things make things work? What mindset things work? And so throughout all of this, you know, coaching, I also started to excel as an artist, and ended up by opening up for Universal Motown artist Jada. Fun fact, fun story. Again, I'm not going to go totally down this path, but Matt Damon, not Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, but like soap star Matt Damon. And you could, yeah, I didn't realize that till the day up. Let's just say that, because the family was getting hit up with like, oh, I'm doing something. I was like, I didn't even know he sang. Like it was, it might be spelt a little different. Anyways, but I did never tell you that. Anyways, it was great. It was really, really great and good for some good laughs. She was like, wow. And then have done Fenway Park and Gillette Stadium and TD Bank North and all of the major stadiums here. And then recently ventured into the sync world and have had most of my songs signed, and then had that recent placement on Temptation Island. So I've always felt that it's important to explore different things. And when putting together my own program, as much as I loved where I came from and all I learned, I always felt like there were certain pieces missing. And I don't think we should ever be, in certain ends, we should be confident and content, but we should always be seeking and looking to see if we could better something.
Yeah.
And so hence what led me to, eventually I got pregnant actually. And that kind of pushed me into going, you know what, let me take that time for the son. And then let me also, as I was reflecting on things, build my own program. And so that led to the vocal program, but that also led to, as of recently, with this fabulous lady here, the Artist Guide to the Music Industry. We wanted to join forces in combat together the unknowingness of being an artist. So I'm going to pass the torch to you so people can hear your story.
The torch. My story, it has a lot of similar pieces to it. I started singing when I was a little girl on the picnic tables at family parties, and they were like, Whitney, sing. And I was like, hey, attention. And then when I started getting serious at it, I was going to singing lessons. I went to a bunch of places, and I was always looking for like more guidance and more of like a structure of how am I going to get to where I want to go. And there's always a lot of questions in my mind of like, okay, I have the drive, I'm ready to go. We could see like burning rubber on my heels, but didn't really have a ton of like, do this, do this, do this. I was just kind of like told to keep singing. That helps. It just
does help.
It does help, right? So I as well started up doing some singing competitions and would lose until one day I just started to win, and that was good. But you have to keep at it, right? And and years went by. Of course, we met and connected and started to put the pieces together that I was curious about, like why. Like, what should I be doing? Oh, this worked. I got a opportunity to sing it. The Red Sox. What did I do to get that? Okay, add that to the list. I got an opportunity to sing with Keith Urban. What did I do to get that? Okay, add all those little pieces to the list, and we create this like roadmap when you look back on your past of all the things that work and all the things that you need to be doing and all the things that you don't want to be doing because it's a waste of time maybe or the wrong thing. And
I want to just chew your horn a little bit more. That's like such an insane, but I'm going to say it anyway. I mean, you've been able to land too, like NASCAR.
Oh, yes.
Right? In front of 1 million plus viewers on TV and like thousands. How many were in attendance?
100,000.
100,000 people.
That was wild to see in person.
I mean, Keith Urban, NASCAR.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
side stage for Luke Bryan this year. Open for Billy Currington. We actually both opened for Billy Currington this year. So
I think some things is we sometimes forget the journey.
Yeah.
But for you, what always sticks out for me, just because I think that it's super important that people stay their course. And I want to encourage you all, we are going to dive into what we found to be the pillars, which is essentially a pillar is a structure that holds something up, right? What held us up, and we'll get into one of the last parts, so stick around, is mindset. And I think it's so inspirational and also really noteworthy to talk about your, maybe super quick, what happened with Keith Urban, your mindset leading into actually obtaining that opportunity, because you were on the brink of being like,
oh yeah,
I'm done.
I actually, the funny story is my friend who I was playing, he was doing guitar with me at the time, said, hey, I heard about this thing where you can send in a video and then you can get picked to sing with Keith Urban. And I was like, all right, I'll do it. How many competitions have I done where I'm like, it's rigged. They already have the person picked out. Do this, they send 1 million in, and you don't hear anything. So I sent in my video. I practiced like all day, and I just did the best that I could. And I think they said, we'll call you by 4:00 on X day. And I got home from work that day, and I just had my eye on the phone the whole day, and it didn't ring. It was like 4:30. And I remember walking to my mom and I was like, I think I'm just done doing this. Like my friends have a clear idea of what they want to do with their lives and they're going to school for this, like this, and this. And I just am floating around here, not 100% sure what's going to happen. And I went and take a nap. I think I was a little crabby that day, but I think, it all just kind of fell down. And I woke up from my nap with a missed call on my phone from a Boston number. And I thought that was a good sign since the radio station that's supposed to be calling was from Boston. And so I was like, all right, a voicemail. And they were like, Whitney, please give us a call back. We have some really great news. And I'm like, I'm not gonna get excited yet. Let's call them back. And then they told me, you are going to be singing with Keith Urban on 2 days from now. How exciting is that? And I screamed. I was so excited. But I had this much left in me.
Mm-hmm.
And boom, it was right there. It's always like,
Yes.
you hear a lot of like almost give up, boom. It's just because everything that you're putting your effort into, it's growing, but you don't see it all.
Yeah.
It's underneath the cement and it's just going to crack through.
I always feel like there's that great saying, because again, even in the sync world, I was like, what am I doing? And like, what's happening? But I remember the producer kind of walking me off the ledge and being like, listen, you were just planting a ton of seeds. Right now, all that's happening is you're doing all the planting.
Right.
It's going to grow. And maybe, and I even took with that too and translated my own. I'm like, you know what? I'm planting a ton and sometimes it doesn't work.
Right. Sometimes the
The
crop
fertile, the ground is the crop's not good. The ground, the soil, whatever it may be, the greatest thing that you can do is learn what potentially, if you can, what led it to not grow. Or sometimes we don't even want to sit there and we're planting so much that it doesn't matter if the pumpkin seed didn't go. It's like another one will. So with that being said, I mean, that's our background. That's kind of what we have been able to accomplish and do in our journey. And so with that being said, I hope that gives you a little bit more. I think it's important that people understand what our background is and that we're not just kind of pulling these things out of, we just decided to do these courses because we want to do these like webinars and it's coming from a point of like literally years and thousands of dollars of investment on ourselves. And that's not a joke.
And we learned with the industry as it changed from 10 years ago to today, and all the things that do work. And I think it's important that if you really want to do this, that you need to just know what to do so that you can be successful and set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you might just be putting in so much effort into like the wrong places. And we're trying to help you with that because we might have spent some time doing that, and we're like, oh, this is working, and that's not okay. We're not doing that anymore. We're going to do this.
Sure. So I mean, here we are. So first things first, what is it? I just mentioned that, but a really quick reiteration, a pillar is something that holds something up, right? So these 5 areas that we have, actually we can roll into that. They are the 5 things that we're going to I always say that kind of do. The 5 things that we're going to dive into is pillar 1 is setting proper targets to achieve the ultimate goal. This is so crucial. Almost everything that we start with is goal oriented. And I'll say this much, even if you have done these goals or you have set your goals, goals are moving. Goals are a continuum. The big one can take years and years to develop, but it's crucial that we do constantly evaluate. I was putting together an administrative skill for some business stuff, and I was like, I wanted a little help. And I was looking at something and essentially it came up, and I was saying this to Winnie. I said, it's super important. What really resonated with me is someone said, you can't just create these goals and put them in a drawer. You're not going to shelf your goals. You need to constantly be taking a look at them and just making sure you're staying on point, or you might be adding something. You might be subtracting something that doesn't seem to be leading to any development or progress. So we're going to go over a chart that I worked with this fabulous artist, and he would travel all around the world. And he's so gracious to allow me to use this with you all because it's a super simple, yet I find it to be so effective and easy to lay out so we can really look at things in a very tangible way. And his name is Mark Hammond, and he is the CRO of Linkage. And he also is the author of Become. Oh my God, he would kill me. But he's worked with NASA. Wegmans is a local. He's talked about, I mean, $1 million companies have hired him on to do evaluations of their companies and help him structure using this here. So I would highly recommend too, if you're looking for a good read, his book, Become, and talks about leadership roles. So that being said, we're going to dive into that there, creating a clear understanding of your brand. If you've done these things before, this is a good time to review and just make sure things are on point. I feel like the more I hear something at times, the more secure I feel with
Yes.
that. Or something new comes from that. Sometimes the first time we're hearing something, we are just kind of taking it in. So it's so much. But then the second time I'm really stripping away. It's like the onion, the layers of it. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. No, I'm on point, or, oh, I missed that point. I want to make sure I'm in on that there. So we're going to go over that. Pillar 3 is the many areas of cash flow. When starting this with Whitney, one thing that was really, really important to us is creating amazing artists, because artists can create effective change in this world and make it more beautiful. And so that is so important, that artists don't give up, because if you have it in you, chances are something's out. Maybe you don't have the technique. Maybe it's not around the right kind of people, whatever it may be, but there's something there that's leading to that. And so we don't want that to happen to artists, because we are pivotal in society. But also on top of that, what is really important is that artists know how to thrive and survive. And so every course we've created has a driving point to lead in either an ability that's going to help them to lead some cash flow, be it vocals. If you're a great singer, there's going to be a part of that. You can record vocals, and we'll get into this with the cash flow. But we want to make sure that everything can lead to a source of income for artists. So we're going to talk about the many areas of cash flow, because I feel like I was stuck so long because I was so hungry to be like, I'm going to record music, I'm going to put it on a streaming service, and it's going to blow up. And it's like, yes, okay, maybe we want that. But in the same sense too, the well's going to run dry at some point. Right. So you have to understand that this is not always a game of like, it's going to happen overnight. So how can you utilize your skill sets to obtain money so that you can pay for training, you can pay for recording music, you can pay for the photo shoots, you can pay for the graphics. These are the things that we've had to invest in and continue to invest in. But there's ways to supplement so you can survive and thrive. And so pillar number 4 is understanding what makes up an artist. And then pillar number 5 is the winning techniques of mastering mindset. So because technique and mindset go hand in hand, and we can focus in on the technique, but if we don't have the right mindset, we won't get far.
Yes.
So let's dive in to the first thing. You should have all received a goal chart in one of the emails, or I think there was a couple emails that had it in there in case people missed one of the other ones. And if you didn't, look back in your emails and you should be able to receive that. So first thing, because we'll take a look at that and break down how you can utilize that in order to help reach your goals. So why is it the first thing we're talking about is goals? Is because goals give us focus.
Yes.
Think big, right?
What's that? Give you focus, but excitement.
Yeah. It helps to kind of put it out from here into the world.
Yep.
If you don't do that, it's going to sit in here, time's going to go, and you're not, I'm such an advocate. You got to write it down. You got to type it out. You have to take it from here and put it out in the world. And then you can start your journey. And it's okay if there are people that are going to be like, you can't do that. You're always going to find that. And it could be that they just have failed at their own goals, right? That's kind of the reality. A lot of times they're bitter. And maybe for some, they do care about you. It's just for them, it's such a massive goal that it just seems unobtainable. And
they wouldn't want to do the work, but that doesn't mean you don't want to do it.
Yeah. There's 100%. So the other thing with establishing goals, it gives us focus, but when you also think big, helps us rise up to the occasion. Big, big thinker of thinking big. No, but I think that's just come from watching things. One thing that can do for some people is just be cautious, because I mean, I can even run into this. I can think massively big. And sometimes I will get discouraged. I'll be like, "Oh, I'm not there, or what have I done?" And with this too, when you're thinking at such a high level, also take moments when you're feeling overwhelmed to take a quick moment to look back and see the things that you have been able to accomplish, right? Because that is, we have to stay in it. The goals will happen. There's no one sitting here saying how long or when. That determines, there's multiple factors in that. But I would say definitely thinking big will pull you up, because I notice when my big goals are there, I'm more active. And even though I might find some moments of dipping down, when I look back, I can go, oh, what I've accomplished, this, this, and this. Okay, refocus, make sure that the bigger goal may be more life-changing, the smaller goals more easily obtainable, right? Let me just recharge on my smaller goals to make sure that those ones, the subset goals, right, which ultimately leads us to the target. And this chart's going to lay that out a bit into the bigger goal, into the smaller subset goals, and then the targets that we can be doing weekly, daily, monthly, in order to help us continue to climb the ladder.
Yeah.
So let's bring up the chart. Oh, goal chart. Well, a simple, effective. I should do things. Yeah. I'm like, Ray, where's the chart? No. Really quick, do you want to take that?
Sure. So the goal chart is a simply an effective chart created by Mark Hammond. All right. The CRO of Linkage, author of Become, which you had mentioned, the 5 Commitments of Purposeful Leadership.
Yep.
You should check that book out. Who has used this chart to help million-dollar companies such as NASA, Macy's, which is crazy, in implementing organizational change and integrations.
And just want to put it's like 99, if not more.
Yeah. So
I put that there because you have to see the value of this thing. And you're gonna look at it too. It might be like, oh my gosh, you're gonna see in a second. It's a simple chart, or if you've printed it out, you'll see it's not too crazy, but the fact that he laid it out this way, I think it's just, I love it.
So I showed someone recently and they were like, I never thought of that. Wow.
Yeah.
So it was kind of neat. All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Drum roll, please.
Okay. So what you're looking at here kind of looks like a diamond shape, right? Is that what a diamond shape?
Yeah.
And the way that you want to work this here is, if you see at the very top, it says, can we blow that up? Future state. Oop, we'll go back there. It's all good. Future state or goal. Like, I really want to get glasses. So it's a future state or goal. Now, in this, you want to think, can you read that?
Yeah, sure. You got it. Here is where you want to put your big goal. So at the top, the think big and make sure the goal is big enough to keep you motivated and to pull you forward. It should also be exciting and something that would be life-changing in some way.
Yes, that's another important part. And this all comes from like constant studying of successful business people, successful artists. So I remember when I was doing a seminar and that point came up about, if it's life-changing, you're going to be more apt to actually pursue it. And I was like, that's so true. Because if I could have it tomorrow, motivated people would be like, yeah, I'll do that. But others, it's not as much. They might be less apt to be like, I could have that. So what's the stakes, right?
Right.
I could have, you could look at relationships, right? I could have that. But sometimes there's that end of like the challenge of it, right? And so that is something that just really stuck out to me. I was like, oh, that's an interesting way to view it, and actually super important that we do view it in that way so that we pull ourselves up to it. So you're going to put your big goal there. Some of these may have times and dates that you're kind of going towards, but I would say overall, a lot of these ones, at least for me, I know I'm going to be on a 5-year, potentially even 10-year plan
Yeah.
with certain ends of things. So it's just important that we state clearly what it is we want. I want a major label success, or nowadays labels like independent artist. I want to be a well-established artist, like blah, 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 whatever it may be on that end. And then to the left is the outcome goals. So what is interesting about these is, if you want to take
Sure.
that on.
These are the things that make up someone or something that have obtained the big goal. For example, if you want to have a major record deal, what are the things a major record label artist has or is doing? One thing is they all have a strong brand, professional vocals, high quality produced songs, etc.
Yeah, so here we're it's research and reverse engineering, right? I've seen that so much in the past years, and I had never implemented it as much as I have, say, in the past few years, but it's brilliant. And I don't know, for me, a light bulb went off. It's kind of like, oh, here's what someone's doing. Now, how do they get there? Right? It's doing some version of that, but I think sometimes we get so busy with the creation that we always don't do the research or taking the time to actually understand things, and that can leave us falling short. So with this end of it, it's the research end of it, like really looking at what makes someone, in this case, we're talking about like a major label artist, right? And again, as a side, I just have to throw this out there because I'm like, you could be a major successful independent artist as well. The labels have changed. It's always an evolving state, the industry.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
always changing. I mean, look at social media and so forth. But either way, whoever you're admiring or aspiring or whatever it may be, that field, you would be looking at like, what are the things that they're doing? What do they really, really have? And be honest, right? We want to be really real in this as well. We want to not be just trying to put on generalities or certain things because the reality is, if you are going to have to evaluate this, if things aren't happening, you're going to have to go back to the board and you're going to have to take a look at what is it? Did I miss something? Are my targets not right? And so forth. But when we look at this, yeah, you need to have stellar vocal ability if you want to sustain a career. And so you want to have really strong vocals. That doesn't mean you have to be Adele. It just means that you have to have good technique. You want to survive on the road, you need to know how to do certain things. Otherwise, you're going to blow your voice out and it's not going to lead you to success. You need to understand that those people have top-notch recordings. And how they create art may be different, but they're solid recordings. They have solid social media, however that may be. And some may break the rules, like not everything. So you're going to be looking at what they have, and you're going to write this down over here. I would pinpoint them 1, 2, 3. So vocals would be separate. Performance, what is their performance? Are they highly entertaining? I'd probably argue they are. I had a great conversation with an artist tonight, talking about Adele, and they were like, she doesn't really do much, but when you really dive into Adele, she tells stories. She's super emotional. She had orchestra behind her. So might not be Beyonce,
right,
but like she's still doing entertaining stuff. So her performance, killer performer. Great brand in the sense of images, maybe how she dresses. You can just think about any artist and I can just start to think about things, and they evolve and they change, and that's cool and how it should be. But in this moment, if you look at them, like I can kind of get a clear sense of how they dress, which is tied into the music that they're putting out and so forth. So that's what you can look at on that side. And then the process goals, essentially I kind of like to think about these as targets. So because they are, if you can see, it's 1A, 1B, 1C. They are the do's and don'ts, or if you want to read that, I'll let you.
sure, yeah. They're the do's and don'ts that make up each of the different outcome goals. For example, if one of the outcome goals is to have a professional voice and do
Did I do typo?
Maybe. Could be making sure. Oh, okay. So it could be make sure to practice daily if you want to have a good voice. And
Uh-oh.
and don't skip your warm-ups.
Don't skip. Yeah, it's like the do's and don'ts.
Right.
So do practice
Right, yeah.
daily.
And make
Don't not
Gotcha,
practice
gotcha.
or don't apply bad technique or don't seek good technique or don't watch TV when you should be doing. Don't waste time on social media if you're not effectively using it. Right? I mean, that's a big one now. People spend hours and hours. Like,
I know, check your phone, it tells you. Like, here, you want to have reality check? What?
so I mean, there's certain things that we can totally use, but
Yeah.
like if you're just aimless, I mean, I have to be mindful.
Yeah.
So
And these are essentially the targets that you can do daily or weekly to help you reach the bigger goal. So check in with your do's and your don'ts and make sure you're doing the do's and don't do the don'ts.
because these are supposed to, and this is again an evaluation point. These targets, these process goals are ultimately what should be leading to the outcome, right? You're processing something, you're doing it, and it's going to lead to an outcome.
Right.
So if you're not doing certain things, or you have certain things down, but certain things aren't happening on the other end, then you have to evaluate that and go, what am I not doing
Right.
or doing? And just go back to that there. And then the last part is you want to figure out where you're at.
Yeah.
At the bottom of this all, it's where are you at and where are you going to grow towards? And if you want to take that one,
Sure.
hopefully.
This is your current state, where you are at in comparison to the big goal. Be
Mhm.
honest with yourself.
Yeah, we have to be honest. We have to kind of go, where am I really at?
Right.
You know, where are my vocals really at? Where's my stage presence really at? And just because if you are not being real, you might be putting yourself ahead of certain things,
Right.
and it's not going to do you any good because you need to go through the process. And also being real too, we tend to be our worst critics. So sometimes it's like,
It goes both ways.
It goes-
I've met people who will say like, oh, I'm like so not ready for this. I'm here. I'm like, no, you're definitely closer
Yeah.
here. And then you have some people who be like, oh, I got this. I'm like, well, wait, we want to come down a little and just be real, be honest. Don't go too far in one direction.
could you compare? And it's not about comparing to be someone, but it's it's kind of like just looking at it from a viewpoint of reality. Like, can I put myself next to this recording and live? Be sure to do that. And say, for example, we're evaluating vocals or your performance. You know, if you have a live recording of your last performance and you put it next to someone you admire their performance and you aspire to have as much energy or a similar show or that kind of just full out entertainment value, right? Where am I in comparison?
Right. Or even
And
if
then-
your goal was to become a football athlete and your stats don't match the other people's stats, is like,
Yeah.
you can't be like, oh, really thought it was going to happen. I got 1 home run and this guy's 75. Oh, it doesn't mean that you can't continue.
Well, it's going to take, right? The
Right.
reality is this, they got 75 home runs, but how many do they have to miss?
Right.
Right. I'm always saying this super quick. My son plays soccer and I was like, you know, he's all upset about he's second. He's like, I'm not getting goals and my team didn't get many. I'm like, buddy, you have to understand something. In those games, as you advance in a soccer, you're getting 1 to 2 goals, maybe 3. I mean, we're watching it. I was like, you can't expect to get a ton of goals because the competition's stiffer. People are hard. Their footwork's harder. So all of these things we have to think about and be like, you know what, as you advance, we're not going to get things right away. And you're going to miss so many. The amount of times that you miss is a far greater than the amount of times you get in.
Right.
And so, but you learn the techniques to better perfect your footwork and all these things here to better your chances. So we hope you can take this here, fill this out on your time, and use it as a guide. And be sure, maybe once a month, maybe once a week, you like to look at it, hang it up, and just evaluate there.
And there's nothing more satisfying than highlighting something that you did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did this. Check. Like that. All
So
right.
let's move on to pillar 2. creating a clear understanding of your brand. This is, let's zoom in.
Okay.
All right, so we are moving forward to, I'll give that again, pillar 2. Creating a clear understanding of your brand. So this is essentially, I'm just going to put that there just this way. This is essentially when you think about a company putting together a product. I always feel like, to a certain extent, feeling bad about this in certain ways, because it's like, I don't want you guys to think about yourself as just a product, but the reality is our music is going to be put somewhere. So we need to kind of view and go, what is the brand? What is the product? What are the things that make up that? And so really quick, brand is an intangible marketing or business concept that helps people identify a company, product, or individual. So to take the time to actually understand that is really important, and make sure that not only it makes sense for you, but you may eventually survey people and make sure it makes that what you are trying to portray and what you really want is coming across. Because just like I was talking about the pillar, right? It's something that something stands upon or holds up, right? A pillar is concrete, stone, and it holds something up. If our brand isn't strong, or maybe we have a great idea of what we want for our brand to be, but if it's not strong or it's not coming across, that is going to be how the pillar is, right? That's going to be the strength of what is holding you up as an artist. So I think we can move forward to some things to really think about. And creating a clear understanding of your brand. What are some things that you can start to think about, process, write down? And again, going back to writing stuff down, that is like so important. And again, one of the other things, be okay with change. You might try things, and that's what great brands do though. They try things, they're not afraid to try things, and they evaluate. Some things sit, other things don't. Right? And so what are the things that set you apart? Outside of the, I don't know, I could go off on this, but I'm like, oh my God, like seeing someone, I'm like, no one has your fingerprints. It's pretty amazing. But I mean, essentially, no one is going to be you as an artist, right? No one is you. So when you think about that, you can kind of go, okay, great. What is going to set me apart? We can think about examples of.
Well, I used to not think that my hair set me apart because we both have long black hair. Casey Musgraves does. And I was at a gig recently and I had my white boots on and I was walking by and they're like, oh, you're the singer. And I was like, oh, it must have been the boots. And he was like, no, it was the hair. So I'm going to go with my hair.
I mean, well, Ariana Grande, right?
Yeah.
When you think about what she does, it's a ponytail. And if they want to change things up, they change something potentially physically, right? So even, yeah, I mean, you just, again, quick sweep through of your artist, you can start to look at them and go, oh, yeah. I'm just Adele, because it's so relative to like, she's come out with her song, right? It's like thinking of her. I don't think she actually strayed too much from what she did with the last album, image-wise. Like I thought she might come out and she might be just changing up things, and she didn't.
She's very classic and classy.
Yeah. The dresses, the hair, the makeup. I was like, okay, she's kind of stayed on point with the brand, be it because it's a huge part of who she is. And I it seems, or at least what she's doing as a brand, when she does interviews and when you hear her talk, is personally, she's very real. And so you get a sense that maybe that's just all around who she is. And so she just felt like it worked, and she doesn't want to stray from what she is doing. That's not only successful, but a big part of who she is. So do you want to take that next one off?
Logo, color scheme, and I just put it on the side, continuity, because you want to have that all be the same. I've probably seen maybe some beginning artists have a few different logos and different profile pictures on their accounts, and it can get confusing to someone who doesn't know you really, really, really well what you're trying to go for. And yes, you might want to test things out, but I wouldn't do it all at once. So it's important to make sure your stuff matches, and it's easy for people to identify you that way.
And it could be too that they're doing that to test things out and see. I mean, it's trial and errors.
If you were to do that though, do one at a time.
Yeah,
It just
yeah.
gets like, are they trying to be two different things? Are they got this going on? It's wild. Anyway.
So, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point too, is you could try different things at different
Yeah.
times. What type of music do you sing? So that's something to think about. What is your brand? What kind of music do you sing? What is your personality? And who are you as an artist? I think the other part of that I would put into there is just your image. So it's like, I love this exercise. It's what your music, what kind of music do you sing? What's your personality and what's your image, like physically? Like we talked about Adele, we talked about Ariana Grande, you look at Ed Sheeran, you look at so many different people and just across the board, it's like, what are they doing that connects to that brand and helps paint the picture? And then who are you as an artist? Kind of probably ties in a bit with personality too.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like what is this leads to, are you authentically you or are you playing a character? Adele versus Lady Gaga. Like,
Or
I
Sia.
mean, or Sia. Yeah. Like, I don't think any of those are ingenuine artists. I just think it's a matter of one's playing a role that's probably part of themselves, and one's just like raw. I hate to say it's not real, but it's
Yeah.
just like raw. And then what is your image? I totally didn't get down there. Nice. So I would take a moment and think about those things there and kind of go, okay, great. What are your answers to these, and do they align in some way? And there's people who break mold, and sometimes things don't always make sense, and maybe the unifying thing is them. It's just like them and the quirkiness or their seriousness or whatever it may be that kind of ties together. Maybe they're really serious and then they break out and they're like, going crazy on stage. But ultimately, I think you can put these together and go, okay, does this make sense?
Yes.
Cool.
All right.
So really quick, for all of you who are interested, we put together some courses. It is leading up to Black Friday. We have till Monday.
Yeah.
Till Monday. You can take advantage, and we have a whole bunch of courses on vocals and how to book gigs and the art of performing and nail that audition.
Yeah.
And more to come. So if you're interested and you need some good technique, this is the time I would definitely say to do it. So
yeah.
All right. So pillar 3, multiple areas where you can create cash flow.
Now we got your attention.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we need to.
Yes.
We need to. You know what? I think for so many artists, and again, it's any business, right? Certain business, you have to think about yourself like a business. If you don't, you're not going to survive. And so as a business, it's like, what is going to help pay my bills? But also, like in the beginning, there's an understanding, there's investment, right? If you start a business, you're not always going to be bringing in without having put in some.
Right.
The change of that, well, I guess you could think about people who blow up on the different social media platforms, and there's little cost to it, and it's a smart thing.
Sure.
But where the cost would probably come in is you better yourself to make sure that you have training.
Right. And for the most of it, they've been doing it for a while until something hits. So it's
Something-
a lot of effort, a lot
Yeah.
of time. It's not just.
So that's the investment part of it. That's what I'm talking about there. So what are the areas that you can start to make money from? Live performances, right? You can get yourself out there. That's going to lead to income. Sync licensing, learning. And like any of these two, I would say too, I've done multiple courses personally with the sync world, and I've learned a lot about it. And I would definitely say as you approach any of these areas, to make sure that you get some training.
Yeah.
Because I remember with the sync world, I was like, you know what? Prior to taking any courses, prior to understanding it, I had a goal to get my song in a movie. And I was like, okay, so I understand that. I did some research to understand that there's music supervisors and people I want to reach out to. So I started to reach out to him, but I approached it in the wrong way, or like that they're always like, don't do this. Like every course is like, in every listening session and every whatever I've been in, they're like, don't do this. And I was like, I did that. Oops. As a side note with that, I think if you can backtrack And I went back with some of the people that I'd reached out to and approached them and just was kind of like, listen to my music, and didn't have like any thought into it. And I just went back and I was like, I feel this urge to go and be like, listen, I'm really sorry. I approached you the wrong way. Cause I was hitting up some big, like heavy hitters, and some of them like replied a little bit. And I ended up by establishing a relationship with one of the gentlemen, because he was like, wow, like you actually came back and apologized. And now he has some co-writes with you, some exclusive stuff with him. So it's never too late to kind of backtrack on things and just be like, hey, listen,
I like that.
I felt so good about it. I was like, I just feel this urge. I feel like I need to go back and like make this wrong, because they were probably like, because it's also a small world. It's like a big, small world, right? In any of these fields where they tend to know, the more you get in, you're like, oh my God, they all know each other. And I totally was that person. So sync licensing, merchandise. This is a huge one that you can start to make some money. People go to concerts, they're feeling in the moment, and they want to take something, a trinket with them.
I did it recently. I bought a Luke Bryan shirt. I had to.
Yeah.
Just had to. I love it.
Paid partnerships, coaching, like we're doing, and production, studio musician, and work for hire vocalist. That happened recently.
Yes.
So break these down just a bit here. Live performances, what are the kinds of things that are out there? Local festivals, fairs, music festivals, bars, restaurants, concert venue, national anthem, online. Twitch is the new thing, right? People are getting, what else is there? There's always stuff popping up, but you can definitely be doing some things there and make some money. And then wedding bands. And so there's a mix of things when it comes to live performances, that it can be cover or it can be original stuff. And that would just come from some research. And also, for those who haven't, we have how to book gigs.
Yes.
We broke down that really in depth with things there.
How to get
what are the different things there? So we will go to the next thing. Sync licensing. So sync essentially means synchronization. It's taking something and putting it together. So you're taking essentially music and you're syncing it to ads for TV, or ads for just platforms in general. Producing music, production. I think that's supposed to be production. Production music. So production music is like, again, it can be put into different places. It could be put into retail stores, which is coming down below there. Production music for cues of TV and movies. And there's some people that kill it by just creating. In the sync world, I'll say this much, it's a fast-paced world. The turnaround's quick, and you have to be really, really skilled to complete projects on time. Like literally that one, the Hulu one, I almost it's like we're on the cusp of a Hulu trailer, and I got the call, and it was like, Patrice, can you learn this song? And legit a half an hour. I never said, I was like, okay, can you learn the song and can you record the vocals? And so I would just say with this one, that's where training comes in. That's where like being on top of things, because it moves quick. But you build towards that too. There's other times when you're not getting like different things through, that you can just keep building catalog and refine yourself and getting better. That was a fun one. Trailer music, one of my favorites. Background music for large events.
Yeah, I had one of my songs played in China at a car show twice. got paid for it.
Yeah, you don't think I'm like, wait a second, where is this? It's kind of cool. And fun fact, for the podcast we're putting together, we have Eric, who's going to be coming on. And Eric, and he's done a ton with Sync, but Audio Station, that's where I was going. And this is an interesting thing, how the worlds can tie together, because he was the one of the composers, because you work as teams a lot of times. And along with Darash, who's a super talented artist, they created a song that just hit, it has to be almost at 3 million views, in the sense of it is the trailer for Black Panther. I don't know, is Black Panther coming out with the second one?
It's
or
probably like 3 or something.
I don't know. You could drop a comment with that. And I only say that because it was a tribute to the gentleman who had passed away. So it was a tribute to him. And I want to say it was a combination of a promotion for the new one,
Mm.
but I don't want to be quoted on that
Yeah.
because I'm like, is that coming out? But needless to say, it worked together because not only did they land that placement, but because it's such a major movie and because he was such an incredible actor and had passed, they were able to get a ton of views. It worked. It's like a perfect hand in hand kind of thing there. Yes, Chadwick Boseman. Yes. Yep. You can check out the trailer for that. It was really cool. And moving. And so trailer and then background music for large events. We just went over that, and store retail music.
Mhm.
Think about all the times that you hear music in the stores,
In restaurants.
that is, they can't just play what's on the radio because they have to pay to have that music. So that's other places that you can think about with that. And then we have sell merch, and just thinking about things with this being creative. We have t-shirts, we have hats, we have sweatshirts, stickers, album CDs. You could do, I mean, there's all kinds of fun things depending upon the venue.
Right.
Koozies.
Koozies or water bottles or sweatbands, or there's literally so anything that you can put your name on it, you can sell it.
And you might be mindful of like, where are the places that you typically sell stuff?
Yeah.
It probably is a best bet that t-shirts can be, or hats could be a good starter for if you're like,
Yeah.
not sure where, because that can kind of go into different venues. But if you know that you perform for like outdoor, I don't know, country clubs, I don't know why I'm throwing that out there, like maybe golf balls.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
Okay, yeah.
So you could even do some research on that end to see what's there.
Yeah.
All right, paid partnerships. So this is something when it comes to the social media ad, just to kind of break this down a bit here. If you build enough of a fan base, if you build enough of a following and people are listening in, you will get people reaching out to you. I've gotten lipstick, I've gotten a hat, I've gotten different
Gotten some
merchandise.
clothes for
Yeah.
my album cover.
Yeah. I mean, that's something too you can do is if you're trying to be creative with your money and be like, what could I do on, like, I really want this kind of outfit and this kind of vibe, but like, I don't have the income right now, or I want to save my budget, whatever it may be. Like, if you're doing the right kind of stuff and you've built some credentials, or maybe you don't, and they just feel like they want to back you, you literally could go reach out to venues and be like, listen, I love your style, love your aesthetic. I'd love to be able to represent it in an upcoming shoot. And there you go.
Sorry.
You went.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I was trying to hold it in. I'm like,
It's like not happening.
that was a face on that one. Okay.
So, and this kind of segues into sponsorship for live shows. Someone might want to sponsor your banners. And I make it on point with your brand. Like, make sure that the things that you're doing, you're not just trying to get money, but like you are actually thinking about thoughtfully your brand and what may aid it and represent it.
For example, I don't think that I would take a sponsorship for a steakhouse being a vegetarian. I mean, it might
I
send the wrong
would.
message to my fellows.
We're very different on that.
But I would take a Dunkin' Donuts sponsorship.
Oh, we both agreement on
Right.
that one. Someone, please, we don't have, where's our cup? Like,
I know.
I'm like, someone who works for Dunkin' Donuts, like, get us the end. We want
I
those.
know, we'll keep your
Right.
cup and everything.
That's one of our big goals. There we go. It's a big goal. D&D.
Just put it
No
out.
longer D&D. It's just Dunkin's.
Oh, yeah,
was a whole-
right.
Yeah. Be careful with your brand. I guess that's a lesson because it was like Honeydew Donuts.
Oh,
They spelled the donuts. I was like, why did they take the donuts out and like rebrand? All the signs came down. But I guess it was a whole thing because the way that they spelled donuts, right, is the same as like Honeydew Donuts. Or so they were like, you took our way of spelling donuts. And I don't know. That's what I've heard. And then you just saw it all unfold. So sometimes it's helpful to do also some research on your like when it comes to certain things that you might be, that goes back a little bit more brand wise,
Yeah.
but those are some things to kind of process is how could I get, if I build enough of a following, people will pay, not only maybe send you stuff, to promote on your social media that you can try there. They might even pay you or give you a percentage of how much you sell. That's, stuff that we've encountered.
Yeah.
So let's
Okay.
see. Coaching, what we do. So if you love what you do, there's no better reward than helping others master their craft. Like anything, we've spent years and years doing this.
Mhm.
So I would say, you can start by just working with people. I don't know if I would charge off the bat if you're
Right.
just starting, because it's your call. If you feel like, the biggest thing is like always, do you feel like you're adding value to the individual's life?
Right.
Are you giving them something? Are you helping them in some way? Are you bettering them in some way? And if you can answer that honestly and say yes, then it can be a great, great way to pay things forward and help others and be able to support all your kinds of things as well. All right. Production, studio musician, get paid to create music for other people. You could write for other people. You could work for hire vocals. Had that happen recently. Work for hire guitar instruments. If you don't just sing, you play other instruments. There's Fiverr. You can put yourself on there. Be aware of contracts too, I think would just be a big thing, and cover yourself always. If it's a work for hire, I normally always sign off on something. Like that's protocol that you're going to have to sign paperwork, but you can make money on that. I would say if you wrote any part of that, I would not sign a work for hire unless you're getting paid substantially, and then you're signing off, you're getting paid for your work. Songwrite for others, graphics or web design, just think creatively outside. Like maybe you have, and I find most artists are multi-creative in all kinds of ways. So you can look at that there. Video editing, just to throw out some other things that we don't always feel like at times maybe a correlation to what we are as artists. So pillar 4, the understanding what makes up an artist, right? So hopefully you can envision these are just, again, the different things that are going to help support and keep us up as artists. They're going to help make us strong. Our goals. We have, oh my gosh, pillar 1 is our goals. Then we have your brand. What is your brand? What is the product? Then we have how can we utilize that brand and that product to help make us some money? And now we're looking at part of the brand is ultimately use an artist, but it's noteworthy to say it is its own entity because it's crucial to yourself.
That's very true.
So what makes up an artist? Well, your voice, your instrument, your brand, performance ability, ability to communicate to your audience. One of the most important things.
Yes.
Music's just emotion.
Right.
So if you have no concept, no understanding of emotion, you're gonna be really hard off. But I always use the example though, some people can be like, I can really give an emotional performance, but if they're technically not on point, it's not going to sell their song either. So you have to have a bit of both of them. Otherwise, you're not doing yourself the greatest service because it won't communicate. You could have the greatest ideas, you could have the most wonderful things, you can be putting it out there, but if it's all off or all over the place, it's not actually going to be brought into communication for the audience. So we want to watch that there. And then we have your songs. What's putting those together and just each in social presence. Think about this too, that time and energy is going to be going into each one of these different pieces, right? This is a pillar that has subsequent parts, right? And each part you're going to have to invest time and energy into it. And the different pieces together are what make up the whole. All right, so we're winding down. We thank you so much for sticking around to the end here. Hopefully, drop us a comment if you found some value in this. That would be amazing.
Where do I find these comments? Where do I find them?
It should pop up. Well, we can. Oh, I think that there. It should. We will see.
All right.
Yeah. So let us see. So hopefully this is bringing you value. You are learning or reiteration of something, but we really feel like these 5 things, if you can get this all together, are going to set you up for success as an artist, as a musician, as a working musician. So the winning technique of mastering mindset, right? Mindset as performers, the mindset we want to achieve is one where we have full confidence in our capabilities and we are being the performer we aspire to be. So what is beingness? The state or quality of being, existing, right? If you want anything in life, you must first state what you want and take on that beingness. I've said this in multiple different things that we have done, but again, kind of aha moments, and it just makes so much sense in the sense of sometimes we're looking at our goal and we're not actually being that. We're kind of like going, I will become that major artist when I do this, this, and this. But it really is, I always say Taylor Swift didn't become Taylor Swift by saying she didn't want to be Taylor Swift.
Right.
It seems weird to kind of say it that way, but like she wouldn't be at her level if she didn't actually say, I am that.
Yes.
Now what do I need to do to get me at the point where I am reaching all my expectations or reaching the things that make up someone as great as I aspire to be, right?
In a way to think about this from a beginning standpoint is if you're not already Taylor Swift, you can look back and say, oh yeah, that's what I did. Is there's been a few things that I've done that made me go, oh, light went off. I would have a gig booked at maybe a smaller venue and I would dress for the smaller venue. I was like, well, I'm not going to put on crazy sparkly boots today because I just don't want to stand out. And I'm like, looking back and I'm like, that is no way to beingness. I was
dulling
myself down, dulling my shine down so that I didn't shine. Why would I do that? I don't do that anymore. You see me with my boots. Okay.
Well, because it becomes your thing, right? But a lot of times it's the fear. It's a fear of what are they going to think of me if I walk in this way?
I'm not going to do this or.
Are they going to, they're going to think I'm being cocky or these things. And a lot of times the very things that we're just thinking are nonsense.
Yeah.
And it's the opposite of what they're expecting.
Right.
They're expecting a performer to come in and maybe they're not expecting because they've seen it so much. So if you do, it's like, whoa, wait a second, who is this? Right. So if there's a thing that's be, do, and have, right? And a lot of times people are like doing the opposite. They're like, have, be, have, do, be. Like they're thinking like, if I have this, then I do this and then I can be this. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. I'm going to be a millionaire. All right. Well, what do I need to do to have that? And then what is the havingness on that? So that's an important thing because we're never going to rise up to the occasion if we just don't start to take on what we want, figure out by taking our goal charts or whatever method, figuring out what you need to do action-wise, because action leads to results. End of story. The more you do, the more you should be getting results. And then you're going to have when we do those three things there. And so let's roll to the next part here. So winning techniques of mastering mindset. What are some things is
there's no failure if you don't stop.
I love that.
Oh
I mean, it
God,
seems like
you said that today and I was like, I love that.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really fail if you don't stop.
Right. How many failed things did Albert Einstein do until he started not failing?
I mean, you have to get yourself in a good mindset. Like people wouldn't be where they are if they didn't just keep going. That doesn't mean that we don't stop. It's super healthy and it's super important that we stop and evaluate, but people wouldn't be where they are. Steve Jobs or all these, like they wouldn't be if they stopped after one product didn't work.
Right.
My family laughs hysterically. Granted, that song should be a hit because they all remember it. They literally, the first song that they ever did, it was like, what can I do? What can I say? What can I do? I'm already on my way. And like literally every time someone's like, what can you do? And they're like, what can you say? And I literally think about it. Needless to say, if I stopped after that song, I wouldn't have a placement, right? And that's on a small spectrum of things. But I always laugh at that because you can't fail if
Right.
you don't stop. But you do need to evaluate in that case and go, how can I up my game?
Right. Yes.
How can I make my songs a little better?
Right.
And there's always something that you can learn, because if you know there is always something you can learn, you can continue to grow,
Mhm.
right? People, I'm always very much aware, and I'm sure you've experienced this. I've had people come and be like, I know it all, I'm great. They like do this stuff, and I'm always super aware. And I'm like, well, what are you doing here? If you know it all,
Mhm. Right.
right? Like, I just think it's just a bad personal state to be in, because I'm like, you know it all, and maybe they know a lot, but like, we've been in this a long time, and I still seek to do things to learn,
Right.
to grow, because I'm like, there's so much more to be had. And in an ever evolving industry, if you don't change, you're not going to grow.
Right. There's like, to put a title to that section, just be teachable.
Yes. Yeah. That which you fear you create.
Mhm.
Over and over. I'm always saying this. The very things that we fear, we ultimately create.
Right.
So why are we fearing it? Right? To conquer the fear is super important. So like, people fear the high note, they don't go for it. Now, all of these could have precautionaries. Like if you are trying to reach a song that is way out of your reach, then you're not doing yourself any favor. But if it's something that you've been going at and you can't ultimately do it, it tends to be, like you fear hitting the high note, you close up, you close your mouth, you do all the things you don't do, and ultimately what happens, you don't hit the high note. So sometimes we have to go, I'm going to stop fearing this thing, and I'm actually going to go out. I'm not going to fear writing to people about gigs. I'm not going to fear writing to people about listening to my music. I'm just going to do it. And most times you're going to get a better result than if you didn't.
Absolutely.
And then I think we're closing out with
Yes.
mastering technique and mindset are killer combination.
Mhm.
So with these things, we hope that you were able to get some good knowledge, some more confidence behind things, and understand that like you're as an artist are going to be held up. These things here again are pillars. They're things that you are going to want to strengthen and make sure that you take care of, because like anything in the Roman ruins, you don't take care of something, it's going to cease to exist. If you do not create, this is another like things I live by. If you do not create upon it, it will cease to exist.
Yeah.
So even if it's small creations on things, it will continue to exist. When things fall apart is when you just stop. Think about relationships. We don't want, it ceases to exist. So we have to constantly be creating on it. I'm going to create on this here. I'm going to create on my music. I'm going to create on my vocals. I'm going to create on my performance. I'm going to create on relationships and building relationships and all that stuff there. So mastering technique, mindset, killer combination. I just went back to that why. Because I feel like there's something else I wanted to say to that. Because one without the other isn't going to work.
Right.
I don't know if I said that earlier, but like if you don't have one, you can have like a great mindset, but if you don't have technique, it doesn't help you. And if you don't have technique, or you could have killer technique, but if you're like always in your head,
Oh, yeah.
it's not going to help you either. So yeah.
Yeah.
And be sure. So reiteration, any of you fabulous individuals, if you want to check out, we do have our Black Friday is here. So be sure, check it out, put lots of time into this. It really will only happen for the next 5 days or so. So we're going to have this here. These are our online courses. We put lots of time, effort, energy into creating them and making them. And it's super important as a learner. I think that it's been developed based off of our learning.
Yeah.
And individual kind of things.
The info wasn't out there for us at the time, but we wanted to be out there for future artists so that they can do what they want to do and not have many questions on like what they're missing.
But also step by step.
Yeah.
Like that is like crucial. I understand, having done some courses with study technique, that the biggest reasons people give up on something is first and foremost, it's too steep a gradient, right? A gradient is step by step. If you are trying to learn runs, but you have no idea of how to actually breathe, you're too steep a gradient. You're not going to reach that target without having the foundation. So when I start to understand, that's one of the biggest reasons people give up on a subject or pursuing something. It is they have a lack of mass or understanding, and mass is like physical objects. And then you have the misunderstood word, which is crazy. When you don't understand things, you're not going to get it. So using that, I was kind of like, we have to make sure we're putting this stuff together. It is in step-by-step guides that really walk people through A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Because I know for me in my learning, I can speak to that there. And then having taught, right, a whole bunch of artists, that when we only get chunks and pieces of things, we tend to get confused and frustrated. And when we're confused and frustrated, personally speaking, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I back away from it. So the good thing is you can use all that as well. Kind of think about those things as you're approaching things. If you're becoming frustrated with something, go through that little check mark there, because you can typically find it's one thing that's going to be sticking out and be like, oh, and then figure it out. Go in there. A lot of times misunderstood words, those can, and it's super fun as I've applied. Like sometimes we don't even understand the full concepts of words. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And that gives me so much understanding into what I need to do.
Yeah.
So there's step-by-step guides, there's workbooks, that's some math, that's some physical stuff, questions, all kinds of things. So we thank you so much. Thank you for sticking around this full time. Hope you got some good value out of that, and have an incredible Thanksgiving.
Yes.
I'm going to go make some apple crisps.
And I'm gonna go get my veggie platter together.
All right, all. Have a fabulous night. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye. All right. So long.
Farewell.
You and you and you.